A former Springfield youth boxing coach convicted of sexually assaulting minors has been sentenced to a prison term of up to 8 years. Welcome to Western Mass News at 4 o'clock. I'm Chris Pisano.
And I'm Jordan Jaglenzer. Disturbing allegations came out in 2018 that then 39-year-old used his position to take explicit photos of underage boys and engaged in sexual misconduct with some of his students. Today he heard statements from the victims and their families.
And Western Mass News reporter Braceda Landaverde was in the courtroom, and she joins us now in studio with the very latest. Braceda.
Yeah, well, Chris and Jordan, we learned today that all the students attended the boxing gym for free. The prosecution team and the judge noting Robert Hersey preyed on the wants of these young men to participate in something that was active and easily accessible to them and their families. Oftentimes, he would pick them up and drop off the victims from their house.
You identified each of your victims' vulnerabilities, and then you exploited those vulnerabilities.
Western Mass News in Hamden Superior Court on Wednesday, as 44-year-old Robert Hersey was sentenced to 6 to 8 years in prison for sexual assault crimes he committed back in 2018 as a youth boxing coach in Springfield. The offenses committed against 5 of his students was over the course of a 5-month period.
I do find that Mr. Hersey's calculated decision to assault and victimize 5 young men was not only calculated, it was manipulative, it was devious, and quite frankly, Mr. Hersey, it was despicable.
Prosecutors say Hersey used his position and power as a coach to prey on the minor victims who trusted him. Multiple victims say they were asked to undress for their weigh-ins, and unknowingly, Hersey would take pictures of them.
It strikes me that the level of planning and manipulation that was involved in gaining access to your victims and then getting them alone, that level is astounding.
In another incident, one victim says the defendant sexually assaulted him in his car.
You went out of your way to create situations to satisfy those urges, and you disguised it as benevolence.
The judge speaking directly to Hersey, saying he exploited a position of trust, not only to the victims, but to their families. On Wednesday, Hersey heard statements from those impacted by his actions.
The defendant took something away from my son, and I'm afraid he will never be the same again. Instead of teaching him the sport of boxing, the defendant manipulated him for his own pleasure.
And Hersey will be on probation for up to 5 years after he gets out of prison. He will have to register as a sex offender and wear a GPS monitoring device. For now, reporting live in studio, Braceda Landaverde for Western Mass News.